Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Milwaukee Brewers in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today: on the mound for the Brewers, left-hander Jose Quintana, and for the Padres, right-hander Stephen Kolek. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 4:35 p.m. here in Southern California. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. inside the broadcast booth at American Family Field. Our keys to the game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup, and much, much more to come. But first, it's time to set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations: La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 36-26, currently in the midst of a 7-game road trip. They currently are 3-2 on the trip and a chance to secure a winning road trip here today. Padres entered today just 1 game out of first place behind the LA Dodgers in the National League West, but they did get good news on that front earlier today. We'll get into that a little bit later. Brewers are 34-30. They entered yesterday as the hottest team in baseball. Before yesterday's game, they had won 9 of 10 and 13 of their last 17 games. And before last night, the Brewers have been averaging more than 6 runs per game in a 10-game span. Speaking of last night, the Padres played yet another close game. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
A couple of young right-handers going at it last night. Randy Vasquez for the Padres, Chad Patrick on the mound for the Brew Crew. In the top of the third, Tyler Wade led off with a bunt single. Wade and Martin Maldonado executed a perfect hit and run. Wade went to third on a Maldonado single through the right side of the infield. That set the table for Luis Arraez.
Patrick, long pause, now the pitch, and Arraez hits it on the ground the other way, into left field, and a base hit. Perfectly split the third baseman and the shortstop. Wade comes in to score, an RBI single for Arraez, and the Padres have the first run of the night.
Let's fast forward to the 8th inning before we talk about what happened in between. The Padres still led 1-0 going to the top of the 8th. Manny Machado provided some breathing room.
0-2 the pitch. And he swings, hits it in the air, deep down the left field line. Collins is back. This one, gonna go! A home run for Manny Machado. Hit number 350 in the third inning yesterday, and now number 351, an add-on shot in front of this hostile crowd in Milwaukee. The Padre lead is 2-0.
Now let's talk about the Brewers. They had a ton of scoring opportunities in the first 7 innings of this game. Randy Vasquez went 4 2/3 innings. He walked 4 and hit another guy, but guess what? Didn't allow a run. Wandy Peralta got the last out of the 5th inning and the first out of the 6th inning. Jeremiah Estrada got 4 outs. Adrian Morejon got 4 outs. All in all, the Brewers went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That one hit didn't score a run. They left 10 on base. Padres still led 2-0 going to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Robert Suarez came on. He got a line out, a strikeout. The game was left up to Bryce Terang.
Suarez set and ready. 1-2 the count. Here's the pitch on the way. Terang swings. Little tapper picked up. Fair ball. Maldonado's got it. Throw to first in plenty of time. And Robert Suarez closes it out. Becomes the first guy this season to get to 20 saves. And the Padres shut out the Brewers 2-0 in game 1 of this series. Padres, their 11th shutout win of the season already.
Padres didn't get a ton of offense last night, but they found a way to get it done. Another close win. 10 of the Padres' last 11 wins have been by 2 runs or less, and now the Padres try to win this series in the middle game of this 3-game set, with first pitch coming up at 4:35. Let's go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Tony, I think the headline of the day is that Fernando Tatis Jr. is not in the lineup today for the Padres, getting just the day off, according to Mike Shildt, before today's game. Obviously, Tony, it's been tough for Fernando going back to the last month or so. What do you think an off day could do for somebody like Fernando right now?
It could be just a mental reset for Toddy, who has been hard at it for the last month or so, and has kind of been struggling in that last month. And so a little mental reset, a little mental spa day for him, kind of let the mind kind of relax and not have to endure the 9-inning grind that he normally does, and just kind of reset things.
And, of course, not a bad guy to have available off the bench as well. Certainly would imagine we could see Fernando off the bench at some point today. Let's talk about this starting pitching matchup. On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Stephen Kolek had a good outing on Monday in San Francisco. Nice bounce back after what was a tough first inning in that start against the Marlins. Tony, what do you continue to see from Stephen Kolek as a starting pitcher?
Honestly, my outlook is starting to change in terms of Stephen Kolek and what to expect. I think rightfully so. During spring, we highlighted the sinker because he was using it a little bit differently, but I don't know that he's a sinker baller. I think he has the sinker and he utilizes it well, but he uses the 4-seam almost as much. And I think we're starting to see Stephen start to learn how to pitch and really use his mix within that matchup. I think he's shown a lot of growth in his last 2 starts, although they may not have started well. The kind of moxie he's shown to get through some outings in which it didn't start well and still bounce back, I've been very, very impressed with.
Yeah, he's been very impressive. And just to build off that, Tony, you mentioned the pitch mix for Stephen Kolek, and it's something we noted about him even last year as a reliever, that he did throw a number of different pitches. So it seems like that wide variety of pitches he throws, the way he can kind of mix it up, Tony, it's kind of part of the good stuff he's doing right now, right?
It really is. And he's picking his spots. It was interesting, that Colorado start, we go back a few starts, he predominantly used a 4-seam, and I think that had to do with the altitude and the way the sinker. And since then, I've noticed, different guys get a different mix. Sometimes it's not even the guy, sometimes it's the team, and I just love his adaptability to each player, each hitter he's facing. I've just been impressed. I think he's just going to keep getting better. He's got a bulldog kind of mentality about him that it's hard not to notice.
Yeah, and he's a great story when you consider he was a Rule 5 pick a couple of years ago and now is becoming an effective major league starting pitcher. Let's talk about the other side of this pitching matchup for the Brew Crew today. Left-hander Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brewers. He was really good against the Padres last season. As a member of the New York Mets, generally for Quintana, what are the problems that he potentially presents?
He's the kind of, and besides New York, he has been a problem for the Padres. It seems like throughout his career, he's thrown the ball very well against the Pods. And he's the type of lefty that, for whatever reason, has given the Padres a tough time. The kind of low velocity, kind of softballish type of left-hander that can sink it, he can cut it, nothing overpowering. Those seemingly have been the type of lefties that have given the Padres some issues. And so, I think they know what they're going to get from him. It's really just a matter of seeing how he executes. If he's leaving balls in the middle of the plate, can the Padres take advantage?
Tony, we've touched on this before, but at least to me, this continues to be a pretty interesting stretch for this team, because even though it doesn't feel like they're really clicking on all cylinders, and maybe that's me judging the offense a little too much and not understanding that it's about more than offense, but certainly offensively, they haven't really been firing on all cylinders. But they do keep on many nights finding ways to win, as cliche as that sounds. Tony, a couple of guys talked about it the last couple of days about just finding ways to win. What is the value this time of year to maybe be finding those types of ways to win, even at a time where you don't feel like you're clicking?
I liken it to a starter that doesn't have his best stuff, right?
Yeah.
Typically, they have to go out and find a way to get outs, regardless of whether they have their best stuff or not. And that's kind of how it is for the Padres as a team. I think the other thing that I think we've all kind of looked past, and it's in part because of the Dodgers and their offseason. The Padres, to other teams outside, and probably including the Dodgers, are no longer a team that's hunting their team. They are the team that teams are circling on their calendar that they're going to get up for. And if you've noticed over the past, outside of the first 15, 16 games where the Padres went on that crazy run, all of these games have been relatively close.
Yeah.
And I think that's in part because they're getting everybody's best shot. They are no longer the team that has potential that, you might have to look out for. This is a team that whooped up on a lot of the league in the second half of the season last year. Don't think that has been forgotten by some of these teams. And I think every time they see the Padres on their schedule, it's a team now that they are going to get up for, and you're going to get your best shot. And I think that's a little bit of also alongside the Padre offense not necessarily being at its best. I think that's part of what we're watching.
Now, Tony, the feeling we have about this team where it feels like they're playing a lot of close games, it's true because you look at it, 22 of the Padres' 36 wins this season have come by 2 runs or less, the most in Major League Baseball. So if you're a fan out there thinking to yourself, man, it feels like they win a lot of close games, they do. They do it more than anybody else in Major League Baseball so far this year. Tony, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 4:25 p.m. here in California. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. Again, first pitch coming up at 4:35. We go out to Jesse and Tony at 4:25. A lot to do between now and then. We will hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in just a little bit. We have a full preview of today's starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Jose Quintana, our keys to the game, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more. As always, if you want to get involved on social media, you can do that by finding me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from on this Saturday. I would say beautiful Saturday here in San Diego, and maybe it's beautiful where you are, but me personally, I've not seen the sun today. We are in sort of full June gloom right now here in San Diego, whether it was at my place in OB or here by Murphy Canyon. It is full-on June gloom, but hey, that doesn't mean we can't have a good time on our pregame coverage as we walk you up towards Padres baseball coming up at 4:35. We hear from Mike Shildt when we return on the Padres Radio Network. For EcoWater SoCal, Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 4:35 between the Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers. Right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres today. Left-hander Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brew Crew. As we get ready for this one, the middle game of this three-game set, let's hear from the Padre manager.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Well, when Mike Shildt wrote out the Padres lineup today, he left out one very significant name. The lineup today looks like this: Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, Luis Arraez at DH, Manny Machado at third base batting third, Jackson Merrill in center batting cleanup, Gavin Sheets batting fifth playing left field, Jose Iglesias at second base batting sixth, Jake Cronenworth at first base batting seventh, Elias Diaz behind the plate batting eighth, and Brandon Lockridge in right field batting ninth. And the name left out, well, you guessed it, it's Fernando Tatis Jr. So Fernando not in the lineup. Hey, Mike Shildt, why isn't Fernando in the lineup today?
He's getting a day off. Just makes some sense relative to the number of games he has played. We are playing. There's not a day that is optimal for a guy of his caliber to get off, but at some point he needs an off day, and today we chose it.
Do you think that it might also be good for him in that things on the plate haven't been going absolutely fantastic?
I think anybody that gets a day off after working a lot is beneficial for him, in regardless of capacity. But yeah, I think, like I said, it's hard not to take that pen and write Toddy in there. But, we got to start, give him a little bit of a break, and thought it made sense in the schedule.
What do you like about Bogaerts and Arraez at the top of the order?
Quite a bit, 5 silver sluggers and 3 batting titles. That's a good start, right? Buggy's led off, was excited about when I mentioned it to him yesterday. And, very competent, quality hitters.
Quintana gave the Padres two big starts last year. It's been a little bit of facing him, the challenges he brings.
He's crafty, man. He's a wily veteran, definition of it. Real pitchability. And, it's the one thing that, you start as a general precipice with pitching, and that's the disruption of hitters' timing. And this guy is add, subtract, in, out, up, down. He's just really understands how to get guys out of their timing.
Suarez, another effective outing last night. Suarez looked blue too. Just what is it that's kind of been the key to his success so far this season?
He comes in, doesn't make situations bigger than they are. That's a part of it. He's got. He throws strikes. He typically controls counts. He's throwing, anywhere from 98 to 100 with some real movement, life to it. He's got a 2-seamer that he can throw that creates some movement. It gets guys off their barrel, and also the changeup's been a really effective pitch for him as well. So he's got a lot of positive things that allow him to have success.
Gavin Sheets for a long time in Chicago. Just what kind of fit has he been in your group and your roster just off the bat here?
Fantastic. He's a wonderful fit. It's I don't know how much time we have to speak of the favorability of Gavin Sheets and what he's been and how he's fit into here. But, he's a high character guy, loves to work, works smart, works hard. Really, Dad Larry obviously played in the big leagues. High baseball IQ, open to playing anywhere, which is indicative of, last night first base, tonight left field. Was DH'd for us. Takes a quality at bat, lefty versus righty. Tough guy, runs into a wall. Still looking to, go play and compete. So he's just he's been a great fit for our club and on and off the field.
He was such a big part of that playoff team under Tony Gwynn Jr. in 2021. Did you kind of reach out to him?
Oh, yeah.
Talks about how he fit in here?
Yeah, I talked to Tony about it. Once we got serious, I've had a kid I coached 100 years ago at UNC Charlotte that coached Gavin at Wake Forest, and spoke highly of him, Joey Hammond. And then I talked to Tony and said, hey, what do you have? And he told me, he said, I think there's more in there. I think he's can be better against lefties. And he said, at the end of the day, you can win with this guy. And that was all I needed to know.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game inside the Padres dugout in Milwaukee. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios as our pregame coverage continues. First pitch coming up at 4:35. And just a reminder for you, again, today's game is on national TV, so we always invite you to listen to the radio broadcast with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. But if you're going to watch on TV, or you're used to watching TV for the post-game coverage, well, we'll have the only local post-game coverage for you both today and tomorrow. So if you want to hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt after today's game, come right back to us when the game ends, and you can join us for post-game coverage, hear from Mike Shildt, and much, much more. And as always, we encourage you to listen on the radio side of things with Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr., and myself. Let's quickly just circle back to Fernando not being in the lineup today. Why is today a good day for Fernando to get a day off? Well, if you look at what Fernando's done the last 31 games since the beginning of May, the numbers are not pretty. A 197 batting average, a 635 OPS in that span, only a 274 on base percentage in that span. He has 5 doubles, 5 home runs, only 10 RBIs in the last 31 games. It's no secret this has been a real struggle for Fernando as of late. So probably not the worst idea to get him a day off, kind of reset things and see if Fernando can get it going again, because, again, the numbers, we just went through them since the start of May after such an electric start to his season. It's been a rough go of it as of late for Fernando Tatis Jr. Of course, you would expect he'll be available off the bench if needed today, but instead, the Padres leading off Xander Bogaerts and giving Fernando Tatis Jr. a day off. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. Manny Machado in there for the Padres. He has been terrific as of late. His last 14 games, Manny is hitting .352 with a .722 slugging percentage in that span. 6 home runs, 12 RBIs in those 14 games. And before this most recent stretch of 14 games, he had homered just 3 times in his first 48 games this season. Manny had the home run yesterday. He continues to be really, really good for this team. The not category, we take a look at the Padres catcher today. Elias Diaz is only 3 for his last 24 with 3 singles. And hey, Martin Maldonado had a couple of hits last night, so hopefully Elias Diaz can follow suit. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for the second game of this 3-game set. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, the Dodgers put Tony Gonsolin on the IL earlier today because of right elbow discomfort. He joins fellow rotation members Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, and Blake Snell among the 14 Dodger pitchers now on the IL. Dodgers did activate relievers Kirby Yates and Michael Kopech earlier today before their game in St. Louis. More on that game coming up in the out-of-town scoreboard. Phillies put Bryce Harper on the IL today because of right wrist inflammation. We told you yesterday that the Braves had called up Craig Kimbrell, who came up with Atlanta back in 2010. Kimbrell pitched last night through a scoreless 7th inning in the Braves' 10-inning loss in San Francisco. They are really not playing well as a team right now. And then earlier today, the Braves designated the 9-time All-Star Craig Kimbrell for assignment. Cruel world for Craig Kimbrell. Rejoins the Braves, throws a scoreless inning, and he's DFA'd. That's a look at our headlines from around the major leagues. And again, we'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later as well. When we come back, our keys to the game, we'll have a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Jose Quintana. Much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 4:35 here in Southern California on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 4:35 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Brewers. Still a lot to do on our pregame coverage before we send things out to Jesse Ackler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in about 20 minutes. We'll have our keys to the game in just a moment. We'll also let you know about today's starting pitching matchup, break that one down for you, tell you who to watch in today's starting lineup. A lot to do as we get you ready for another ball game, this time in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's give you the latest of what we know about Yu Darvish, Brian Hoeing, and others.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, the good news this week is that even though Luis Arraez and Xander Bogaerts both left games during that series in San Francisco, both were back in the lineup yesterday and are back in the lineup today. Luis Arraez left Thursday's game with posterior right knee soreness. He was back in the lineup yesterday. Xander Bogaerts left Wednesday's game with soreness in his left shoulder, the same one he fractured last year. But again, the good news, Bogey back in the lineup yesterday, and without Fernando Tatis Jr. in the lineup today, Xander Bogaerts is leading off. As far as you, Darvish and Brian Hoeing, Darvish scheduled for a bullpen yesterday. Haven't heard an update on that, but he was supposed to throw a bullpen yesterday. We'll see what the news is in the next couple of days on that. Brian Hoeing, according to Mike Shildt yesterday, is supposed to throw today for AAA El Paso, throw around 30 pitches. The El Paso Chihuahuas AAA team for the Padres, they play against Albuquerque a little bit later this evening, so we'll keep an eye on that. Brian Hoeing continuing his rehab assignment with AAA El Paso, and that's a look at the latest on Arise, Bogarts, Darvish, and Hoeing. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, Manny against the Brew Crew and the Boos. The crowded Milwaukee Boos, Manny Machado. And yesterday he said, boo this, when he hit a big home run in the 8th inning. Here's a tip for Brewers fans. Maybe stop booing him because it doesn't seem to work. Manny has hit safely in 14 of his last 15 games against the Brewers, batting .322 in that span with 4 home runs and a bunch of RBIs as well. Manny also has 2 doubles and a home run lifetime against today's Brewers starter, Jose Quintana. So for Manny Machado, keep doing what you're doing against the Brew Crew. That's key number 1. Key number 2, get to a Brewers starter. Even though the Padres won last night's game, it's not like they had much success against the starting pitcher. Rookie Chad Patrick gave up just 1 run in 6 innings. Brewers starting pitching has been great lately, a collective 2.25 ERA since May 18th. And today the Padres face a guy in Jose Quintana who was great against them last season. More on that coming up a little bit later. But the question will be, can the Padres get to Quintana, a Brewers starting pitcher, one of many that's been really good lately, or is this going to be deja vu from last year when he was on the Mets? One guy to watch today, his former Met teammate, Jose Iglesias. Iglesias has 10 hits against Quintana in his career with 4 doubles off Quintana. So keep an eye on that matchup today. Key number 3, you're not hurting us, Yelich. The Padres did a nice job against Christian Yelich last night, held him to just an infield single. Even with that, he's still hitting .423 with 6 home runs and 15 RBIs in a current 12-game hitting streak. That hitting streak is tied for the longest active hit streak in the majors right now. Padres also did a good job against Jackson Chourio yesterday, held him to just the single. He's still hitting over .400 with 8 runs scored in his last 7 games. Also keep an eye on Sal Frelick, right fielder for the Brewers. I know we talked about Yelich, we talked about Chourio, but you got to keep an eye on Frelick as well. Frelick back in the lineup today for the Brew Crew and batting 5th. Frelick in his last 18 games batting .348 with 2 home runs and 11 RBIs, has an .862 OPS in that span. So there are a number of guys to watch out for in this Brewers lineup. Like we said, Brewers got shut out yesterday. However, in their 10 games prior to yesterday, they were averaging more than 6 runs per game in that 10-game stretch. This was a red-hot team coming into this series. So don't get lulled into thinking that this Brewers team can't play. They can play, and a tough test for Stephen Kolek here today. That's a look at our keys to today's game. When we come back, we take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We tell you about one guy to watch in the Padres lineup. In particular, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brewers. Plus, we take an even deeper look into what Manny Machado continues to do and some of the milestones that Manny will very soon hit. First pitch coming up at 4:35 in Milwaukee. Our pregame coverage continues after this. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 4:35 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Still a lot to do. We'll tell you about one hitter to watch in today's Padres lineup. In particular, a full breakdown of our starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Jose Quintana coming your way as well. First, let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We take a look at scores today from around the major leagues. We had the resumption of a suspended game earlier today. Reds beat the Diamondbacks in 10, 4-3. Christian Encarnacion Strand had a walk-off double in the bottom half of the 10th inning to win that game for the Reds. And game 2 of that sort of doubleheader, Reds won it again, 13-1 in Cincinnati. So 2 wins today for the Reds. Again, the resumption of that game from yesterday earlier today. Giants beat the Braves 3-2 in San Francisco. White Sox beat the Royals 4-1 in Chicago. Rangers beat the Nationals 5-0 in D.C. Pirates beat the Phillies 2-1 in Pittsburgh. Blue Jays beat the Twins 5-4 in Minnesota. The Cubs and the Tigers played in Detroit, and the Cubbies hit a lot of home runs.
And the next offering, swinging a fly ball to right. It's deep. Back goes Perez on the warning track at the wall. That ball is gone for a home run. A high towering drive to straightaway right. That ball got some carry. And Pete Crow Armstrong with his 17th home run has just given the Cubs a 4-1 lead.
A home run for PCA. The Cubs hit 5 home runs in that game against the Tigers as they beat them 6-1. The Dodgers and the Cardinals were tied at 1 in St. Louis in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Nolan Arenado at the plate.
The pitch by Kasperi, a swing, and there's a high fly ball. Left field. That ball is down for a game winner, a Redbird winner. Lighted up in downtown St. Louis. Arenado gets a single to drive in Barrero, and the Cardinals have beaten the Dodgers 2-1.
That call courtesy of KMOX in St. Louis. The call from Pat Hughes on the one earlier for the Cubs. 670 the score. Cubs radio. Cardinals win it 2-1. Walk-off hit for Nolan Arenado as they beat the LA Dodgers. So what does that mean for the Padres? Well, it means if the Padres do win today against the Brewers, guess what? We have a tie for first place in the League West. Padres at the moment after the Dodgers lost earlier today. Padres a half game behind LA for first place in the NL West. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday across the major leagues. Well, Manny Machado continues to be very impressive. We told you about what he's done as of late. Last 14 games, he's been red hot. Now 351 career home runs, 1,973 career hits. He's on track to become just the 79th player in Major League history to reach the 350-plus home run mark and the 2,000-plus hit milestone. Only the 12th player when he hits those marks to do it in their age 32 season or younger. We've talked about this before, but of the 11 players who have reached that number, the 2,000 hits and the 350 home runs by the end of their age 32 season, 8 are Hall of Famers, and then you have Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, and Alex Rodriguez, the other 3. So when Manny, presumably some point this summer, picks up that 2,000th career hit, he is going to be in very, very rarefied air. What a career for Manny Machado, and he has been so good for the Padres as of late, including a big home run late in yesterday's 2-0 win. Speaking of the Padres offense, let's tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. Can the Padres continue to get good production from Brandon Lockridge. He's 5 for his last 8 in the last 3 games. He's either started in or come off the bench in all singles, but you know what? It's productive, and he's got great speed to steal second after a single. Lockridge in the lineup today for the Padres, batting 9th and playing right field today in place of Fernando Tatis Jr., who's getting a day off. So that's what to watch for in today's game. Can they continue to get good production from Brandon Lockridge? He's done a nice job as of late. That's what to watch for as the Padres take on the Brewers in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today, right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres, left-hander Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brew Crew. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Stephen Kolek, 28 years old. He's had a solid start to his season, 3-1, a 3.47 ERA in 6 starts, 36-plus innings, 27 strikeouts, and 12 walks. His last start Monday in San Francisco, 5 2/3 innings, no runs given up, 3 hits. He struck out 3 and walked 2. It was a really nice bounce-back start after giving up 6 runs in the first inning of his start against the Marlins. Kolek made 2 relief appearances against the Brewers last season, gave up no earned runs on 4 hits in 3 combined innings. So some good success against the Brew Crew last season. We'll see if Stephen Kolek can do that again here today in a starting capacity. Left-hander Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brewers, 36 years old. He's 4-1, a 2.77 ERA in 7 starts so far this season, 39 innings, 27 strikeouts, and 15 walks. This is his second start since coming back from the IL after dealing with a shoulder impingement. First start off the IL last Sunday against the Phillies, 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 walks. Quintana was great against the Padres last season in 2 starts with the Mets. He gave up just 1 run in 12 1/3 combined innings in those 2 outings with the New York Mets. So a tough test today for the Padres against the guy who's done well against them in Jose Quintana. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup today. Kolek for the Pods and Quintana on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers. As always, we appreciate you listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Let's set the table one more time for you as we get ready for today's game. Padres come in a record of 36-26. Padres in the midst of a 7-game road trip. They're currently 3-2 on the trip, a chance to secure a winning road trip here today. Padres enter today just 1 game out of first place behind the LA Dodgers in the National League West. But as we said a little bit earlier, Dodgers already losing to the Cardinals today. So Padres at the moment, even though they entered today a game out, they're a half game out right now. And if the Padres were to win, well, then it's a tie for first place in the National League West. And oh, by the way, the Padres play the Dodgers beginning on Monday in a 3-game series. 3 games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday against LA and San Diego. And then the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in LA. So 7 games between the Padres and Dodgers coming up. And at minimum, it's going to be 2 games separating those 2 teams, depending on what happens tonight and what happens tomorrow. So going to be a big couple of series against the LA Dodgers coming up. Brewers are 34-30 coming into today's game. They are still one of the hottest teams in baseball. Before yesterday's loss, they had won 9 of 10 in 13 of their last 17 games. Before yesterday, the Brewers had been averaging more than 6 runs per game in a 10-game span, but that's before the Padres shut them out yesterday. 11th shutout win of the season for the Padres with a 2-0 victory in yesterday's game. We talked about this with Tony Gwynn Jr. a little bit earlier. Each of the Padres' last 9 wins have come by 2 runs or less. It's been nearly a decade since the Padres last had 10 consecutive wins come by 2 or fewer runs. And how about this? 22 of the Padres' 36 wins this season have come by 2 runs or less. That is the most in Major League Baseball. So if you feel like the Padres are playing a lot of close games, like they're getting a lot of tight wins, well, you're not crazy. They are. They're playing a lot of close games. They're figuring out ways to win. They come into today's game 10 games above 500, but you know what would feel pretty good today? How about a big offensive outburst? Maybe a little breathing room in a win today. We'll see if the Padres can do that, but if not, get a dub. That's good enough. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network.